Hello all, and welcome back to Trash to Treasure, the series where I show you just how cheap and easy it can be to start cubing. We're at the penultimate episode, where I add the last cards into the list before finally starting to pare it back. For gold cards, I'm in a bit of a bind. I'm normally not very high on gold cards anyway, as they have a tendency of clogging up the draft pool. Doubly so when each player is hard restricted to colors. As I see it, you can solve this one of two ways. Either everyone gets access to a prismatic piper to add a color into their color identity, or just mostly include the legendary gold cards. I chose to do the latter, but in your own projects this is something to think about. We'll start with the three shards that got representation: Bant, Jeskai, and Grixis. I hate that they all share blue, but otherwise I think this is a good sampling. When it comes to the guilds, I picked out 3 per color pair that felt open-ended enough to allow drafters to build them as they see fit. There are a few cool commanders to build around for sure, but when in doubt I tended towards the more general themes. So, a card like Captain Storm Cosmian Raider is in, and Captain Vargas Wrath is out. We got a ton of cool non-legendary gold cards, especially this Maelstrom Angel. But, as it's uncastable here, I might save it for the next project. What do you think? Should I be allowed to use leftover cards from a Trash to Treasure? Or should I only build around what's in the box given to me? To round out the gold section, I'm going to keep 1 guild card per color that's not legendary. I don't even know if they'll make the final cut, but when you open cards like Unburial Rites and Third Path Iconoclast, it feels bad never giving them a chance. With Azorius I had a hard choice, but ultimately I went with Turn to Mists. This is a protection spell that gets some added value if used on the right creature. As mentioned earlier, the easy call for Orzhov was Unburial Rites. Phyrexian Missionary would have been the pick if it wasn't there, as it's a cheap card, with kicker, and 3 relevant creature types. Boros had a tough pick, but ultimately I went with Bladehold Warwhip. 2 of the 3 possible commanders have direct synergy with the card, which helped it beat out 10th District Legionnaire. There weren't too many options in Selesnya, but +1/+1 counters are always something reliable. Luckily, we opened this promo Botanical Brawler, so that makes the cut based on cool factor and utility. Dimir had a few cool options as well, but the battle that self-mills was a lock. It gains a small amount of value when it comes into play, helping to fill your yard while replacing itself. But if you're able to flip it, it becomes an immediate threat to answer. Izzet has a few great hits: Fire and Ice, Izzet Charm, even Cutthroat Negotiator, which fits great into a commander cube. But Third Path Iconoclast is just too powerful to pass up. Slim pickings in Simic, but I only needed 1. Skyrider Patrol. It's not great, but it's the best of the bunch for long-term value. Carter's Vicious Return is my pick for Rakdos. It's not flashy, but it's another reanimate that has value with 2 chapters. Back for More is one of my favorite cards to play with from the past few years. It's instant speed, reanimate, and fight spell. That's great 3-for-1 potential. Even played fairly, it's a very strong card. For Gruul, there were a couple of good landfall creatures, a few fight spells, and even some counter synergies. I chose Sunder Shaman, a removal spell on legs. Now, for something a bit less restrictive, artifacts. I'm going to grab even the more medium power stuff here, as they'll be fought over by every drafter. Part of my artifact selection process is going to be grabbing the most open-ended cards, and letting the drafters' imaginations run wild. Let's start with the creatures. From the 1-drops, I'm going to grab the Conjurant, Construct, and Mere Moon Vessel. We've talked about it already, but I'm not a fan of the basic to snow basic change done in snow cubes, as basics in this environment will already be far and away better than any fixing land. There's a bit more selection in the 2s, and even some cards that play better in multiplayer, like the Eager Construct and Ruined Servitor. I'll throw all of them in for now. That's a problem for future me. When it comes to the 3s, we got even cooler cards. Cogwork Spy will circle back to the Draft Matters cards we started with. Pilgrim's Eye and Skittering Surveyor are good cards for fixing, and Scuttlemutt is a fine ramp creature. I'm going to add in basically all of them that look interesting. With the 4s and more, I'm going to be a bit more selective with my choices. Even though this cube is based on Commander, it's still a cube, and my own design tendencies favor tempo. So, anything at this point of the curve has to wow me. First up is Amaranthine Wall, an unexciting addition that'll protect you when you need it. Seems okay. Maybe we'll try it out here. Would have been a great card for our last project. Right after that is Scaretiller. Underpowered, but a recurable ramp piece. Best paired with vehicles or other activated abilities. Then we've got Scampering Surveyor. Looks like we found our sad robot replacement. Iron Mastiff is a cool card. It adds in a bit of randomness, rewards attacking multiple opponents, and will be putting pressure on life totals. This card will absolutely make the final build. Clone Shell is a cool value card too. One of the few ways to really cheat in a large creature, and it's even a shapeshifter. There are all the Pipers we'll be adding in for free. No point in adding them to the cube list, as every player will get access to them if they need to. I'll add in the Gatekeeper Gargoyle for now. I've got a sneaking suspicion that our mana base will have plenty of gates for it to trigger. Darksteel Sentinel also seems like a cool add. Not only is it an excellent surprise blocker, but it'll give you an out if you want to leave up interaction. Meteor Golem feels like a staple in these budget environments. It's your colorless removal spell that comes with a decent body, and has been reprinted so often it's basically free. Sandstone Oracle also feels like a great late game threat. It'll refill your hand, and is in the upper echelon of creatures with flying power toughness. We found another gate payoff, the Gate Colossus. This one is excellent because it gets cheaper the more you have, as well as recurring itself when you play another gate. Lastly, for the creatures, we've got a bit of a flavor wind, the Hand of Emrakul. We don't have the Eldrazi spawns to cheat this out, so I think having a 9-mana threat with Annihilator is more than fair. Now, onto the equipment and vehicles. They're great for adding a little extra damage for very little risk, giving hesitant players a bit more incentive to attack. Cliffhaven Kitesail is awesome. It's a cheap way to give one creature flying, and Once on the board, the equip cost is reasonable for the effect. Rune Stalactite is an expensive short sword, with the added benefit of bequeathing all creature types. Not sure if it'll matter, but in any case, it can't be bad. Explorer Scope is cheap enough that even getting one activation off will feel great. Gives land ramp to every color, provided you have a way to stack the top of your deck. We found another Gate Matter card, Glaive of the Guild Pack. Even if it only gives a modest buff, handing out 2 combat relevant keywords will make this an easy include. Sigil of Valor is a great reward for a go-wide deck. Making a ton of 1/1s often isn't enough for a 4-player game, but making one into a real threat every attack should break the stalemate. Perfect for the commander gameplay we're building, Hero's Blade will auto-attach every time someone casts their commander. It's fairly expensive outside of that though, so this might be the best environment for it to shine. Rogue's Gloves and Mask of Memory are both great additions to generate card advantage. It will be risking the creatures that the equipment is attached to, but I think that's a fine compromise for recurable card draw. I think there's probably enough humans in the environment to make True Faith Censor get max value, but even the short sword buff with Vigilance is worth 2 mana to equip. Volshock Morningstar is so elegant. I think it's worth including for now. For more on why this card is awesome, check out this video from Andy from Lucky Paper Radio adding it into his Sacred Geometry Cube. Shield of the Realm is interesting. On one hand, it basically reads, give equipped creature +0/+2. On the other, the edge cases will matter, and the equip is so cheap, I'd like to test it out. Cloak of the Bat is yet another way to give our creatures flying, plus it grants haste. An excellent play in the late game, it'll turn every top deck into a chance for lethal. Strider Harness is another way to activate late game draws, with a bit more of a down payment. Still worth putting in despite the higher tempo loss. We've got another rare, Sword of Vengeance. With that many keywords, it's basically this environment's Sword of X and Y. Instant add. Fire Shrieker is another classic equipment, dating back to the beginning of the card type. Yet to be outclassed for this effect, at least from a colorless source. Lastly, Brass Knuckles as another double striker. Importantly, it gives you 2 game pieces, and they are easier to equip. I really like it in the slower environment of 4-player Magic. Onto the vehicles, I wasn't expecting much. I like them more in a traditional cube as they're good Wrath insurance. But with most of them having a crew cost of just 1, they're worth including at this time. Lastly, onto the artifacts, I'm not thinking we'll find anything game-breaking here, but I do need a few role players. In the 1-drop slot, we've got exactly that. A card that supports self-mill, 2 cards that'll help fix your mana, and a way to remove a problematic card from your graveyard. All great includes. Contested Game Ball is such a fun card to throw in here. It's a more fair Monarch, and it'll keep the game flowing in an exciting way. Mill isn't viable. Unfortunately, it always falls short. But I think Millstone is worth an include to support the self-mill archetype while hating on the top deck manipulation. Plus, a drafter can dream. Prophetic Prism is a classic way to fix your mana in Cube. It replaces itself on ETB and filters for whatever you need. Even though I think the two-color decks won't really need this, I'll throw it in for now, because it's basically free. Noble's Purse is a weird mana rock, but it's only 2 mana, so it's worth testing. Spell Satchel is another weird rock, but at least this one is pointed towards a specific archetype. Again, worth testing. Normally, I wouldn't even consider a card like this, but Darksteel Pendant may have a place in this environment. There aren't that many ways to manipulate the top of your library, and this one being recurable may make some people fight over it. Plus, with a little bit of artifact animation, it can become a late game beater. Orzhov's Signet is a tough one to see here. It's likely the only copy of any Signets or Talismans, which would put Orzhov in an extreme advantage for the late game. Given the constraints of the project, I can't include it in this list. Levitating Statue recently put in some work in my Rashmi Ragavan EDH deck, so I just have a soft spot for it. I'm going to add it in for now because I'm the one building the cube. Remember, pet cards always make the cut, unless they're awful for others to play around or with. This card might be a little slow, but Urza's Tome has a spot for now as well. I remember it fondly during the brief time that Paper Brawl existed, really putting in work in my Wrath deck. Again, Cube is the place for pet cards. Three mana rocks, something I expected to see. Unstable Obelisk will ramp you a bit with that late game activation discouraging attacking into open mana. Sunbird Standard, another 3 mana rock that also fixes your colors. There is a powerful backside, but I think just being a manalith on its own is valuable enough. Arcane Encyclopedia might be the better version of Urza's Tome, given the effect is always card positive for only 1 more mana down. If I only run one of these effects, this'll be it. Altar of the Pantheon has a lot of words attached, but at the end of the day, it's just a manalith, and that's fine. Dungeoneer's Pack, an expensive way to get the initiative in play. But I think I want to play every card that encourages combat, so this is in too. Like I mentioned previously, I don't think that creature types are going to matter in this cube, but a repeatable token maker is always worth a second look. It's fairly expensive, so I'm going to add it in right now and take a much deeper dive into the cube next episode to determine its worth. Seer's Lantern, a mana rock that also scries? What's not to love? Spectral Searchlight is a fantastic manolith to find here. Usually you're going to choose yourself, but it does give a politic option to play. Given this is one of the few cubes that even involve politics, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't think that Chaos Wand is good, but it certainly is fun. For that reason alone, it's in. Commander Sphere, a format classic. Layup for the final 500. Lastly at 3, Dungeon Map, a mana rock with upside. I am including the initiative here, but even still I don't think this will warrant a spot, as the other 3 possible dungeon balloon complexity. But what do you think? Leave me a comment as to if you'd run this yourself. Much like with the creatures, the 4+ mana artifacts are really going to have to wow me. It's just a lot of mana to sink into something if it doesn't affect the board state right away. Slagstone Refinery is the kind of card you could build around in Commander, but here it would just be bad to awful. No thanks. Urgolem's Eye is in, however, because it gives you that mana to use right away. It's likely that playing this on 4 is too slow, but if you're already at parity on board, this will accelerate the rest of your game. Kalani Gem is just like Urgolem's Eye, but it does give you colored mana. Something worth thinking about. Also, in any upgrades where this card is still present, I'd be thinking about landfall enablers, as being able to take advantage of that downside is a lot of fun. Icy Manipulator, a pal since Alpha. While it's no longer the powerhouse it used to be, I think here it acts as both a threat deterrent and a political piece. To finish up the artifact section, we've got a Meteorite. It's a bit slow, but it does have an immediate board impact. I'll give it a shot, and we'll see how it plays. Finally, here are all the lands from the bulk lot. Just like last time, I won't be restricting myself to using just these, but any lands I add in will be in the spirit of bulk. Think life gain lands, gates, evolving wilds. Remember, good mana makes good play experiences. We did open a few cool lands too, like Temple of the False God and Path of Ancestry. There's also a few caves that might be worth thinking about, as well as a good chunk of the bounce lands. Without any real threatening lands, I don't think I'll need to include any land destruction like Field of Ruin or Demolition Field. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the future of this project. When I started, I thought it would be fun to give it away. But after the insanity of trying to get rid of the last one, I think I may want to hold on to this. So, here's how this is going to be a community cube instead. Right now, I'm going to put the cube together, sleeve it, and throw it in a BCW box. I'm going to be at a few cube events this year, along with some other Magic events generally as well. So, here's the deal. If you play with this cube and get the win, you get to pick out a budget commander, sign it, and I'll add it into the pool for good. If you go winless, I'll give you 2 budget card suggestions, and I'll make room for them. They may not stay in long term, but I'll add them both in initially. Fear not, if you can't make a physical event, I plan on running it digitally as well, probably using Mitgo. All you have to do is make an account and purchase the $5 account upgrade kit to play. Details are still fuzzy as to how I'll facilitate all of this, so stay tuned while I figure this out. As for the future of this channel, I'm going to be retiring the bulk cube projects for now. Part of my absence has been feeling like this second Trash for Treasures cube really limited my creativity. I still plan on making my other content, like the how to draft guides and deep analysis. I'm planning on this channel having another long-term project, this time involving you much more. I can't share more now as it's still early on in the design phase, but I think once it's launched, it's going to be really exciting. If that sounds appealing to you, remember to subscribe so you don't miss out. And as always, thanks for watching.